Greetings and salutations, and thank you for clicking on the video. Today we're going to take a look at Ubuntu Mate 16.04 Beta 1, and we'll also look at Ubuntu GNOME 16.04 Beta 1. I've mentioned in past videos that I had originally intended to look at these distributions when we got a little bit closer to the official release date. However, I had a little time this morning and I decided that I would download and install them just to see what was going on, and I was very impressed by how smooth the install went and the fact that I have yet to run across a single bug. Before we look at those, I want to let you guys know that a new article has appeared at freedompenguin.com by yours truly, How to Optimize Ubuntu for Speed. I figured this would be a nice article for those of you who are getting ready to possibly reinstall to take advantage of 16.04 when it's ready to go, or maybe you can apply some of these tips and tricks to your current Ubuntu-based installation, and that would be Ubuntu, any of the official spins, and any distribution based on Ubuntu. So do be sure and click on the link below to check that out. All right, let us jump into Ubuntu Mate 16.04. This is a distribution that I have been watching for a very long time, and at one point in time I was actually running it as my daily driver for a while. Unfortunately, I kept running into all kinds of little bugs and problems, and this happens with new distributions of Linux. So I kind of said, well, I'm going to wait until the first official long-term support release, because by then they're going to have a lot of this ironed out. So I've been watching them from afar, and this release has really blown my mind. It is absolutely amazing, and it's really one of the reasons that I wanted to do this video. I told you guys in my community updates and Linux news video to check out Matt Hartley's video about this, which was really cool. If you have seen that, then you're probably going to already be familiar with what I'm going to talk about here. And if you haven't, you do need to see this, because this is pretty amazing stuff. The Ubuntu Mate team have worked very hard on this welcome screen. So you have to imagine that you've installed this operating system for the first time, and this welcome screen is what you're presented with. And also picture it as if you are somebody who is new to Linux. You've never run Ubuntu before, and you don't know a whole lot about it. This is the perspective from which the Ubuntu Mate developers have developed this particular application right here, and it is amazing. So let us first go to where it says Getting Started, and the menu pops up here, and we can jump over here and install updates, and they also have a backup tool here. You can back up your installation once you get your updates installed, or come back to this later, I guess. So when I actually installed this in this virtual machine, I personally never opened a terminal, even though I could. I wanted to see how it would work if I did everything from the welcome screen, and I could, and it worked, and it was fine. So that is the Getting Started. Oh, we're not done with that. That's Getting Started. You can also come in here to install all of your drivers, which I have done, and I did it from here because on this computer with the VirtualBox I have to install the VirtualBox Guest Editions, and also there's some firmware for the processor. So what I'm getting from Ubuntu 16.04, whichever spin I install, is direct pass-through to the processor from the virtual machine, which really increases the performance. Running these VMs feels like they're on hardware. It doesn't feel like it's running in a virtual environment at all, which is amazing. And they only have 1.5 gigs of memory given to them and 2 cores of the processor. So it's amazing how quickly they run. Anyway, so you can get your drivers installed from here. That worked very, very well. And there's a lot of other groovy things here too. They're talking about how you can get right into the chat room here with one click, and you can support the community and all that other stuff. But I really want to show you the star of the show, because this is amazingly well done, and that is the Ubuntu Mate Pix. And this is software that is available for Linux that a lot of people need and use. And also, once again, put yourself in the place of a novice user. Just opening up a software center, software manager type application and being presented with 30,000 applications, it's like, wow. What the Ubuntu Mate team have done is come up with a list of the most popular, most needed software and put it all together here. And let's look at internet. Okay, the first thing that comes up is the Adobe Flash Player. So if you need that, you can install it. We scan down here, and we're seeing a lot of great applications. There's Chromium. But look, here is Google Chrome, and it's available with one click. So I have already done that, because some of you may have noticed that, well, actually it took it out of there because I had added it. But I was playing with this earlier, and I had added the Google Chrome icon there. So Google Chrome is installed on this machine, but I was messing around with the desktop, and it deleted that out of there. And you'll find out why here in just a moment. The neat thing here is that to get Google Chrome installed on this system, all you have to do is click this and give it your password, and it's gone. And it goes and it gets it and it installs it. Whereas on regular Ubuntu and many other distributions, you would have to open up Firefox, you would have to go to the Google Chrome site, you would have to download the deb file, you would have to open up that deb file with GDebi package installer, or you would have to use the software center or whatever, and then it's a bit of a process, especially for somebody who is new to Linux. They've made it a one-click operation. Well, it gets even better as we scroll on down the list here. Not only that, I want to point out that these descriptions are awesome because it tells people why they might want the piece of software and what it does. They also compare it to software that somebody who's used to using Windows or Macintosh might relate to, which is really cool. But as we scroll on down this list, we can get the Ice-T plugin here, so we can have Java support, and this all installs with one click. Now here's Skype. A lot of people use Skype, and getting Skype installed on Ubuntu has been a bit of a head scratcher because they do have a version, and it works, that are in the repositories, but then you can go download a newer version, and it gets a bit confusing. Well, as of 16.04, and I have double and triple checked this, there does not appear to be Skype in the repositories for Ubuntu anymore. So if you want to install Skype, you're going to have to go to the website, download the package, and install it. Which, like Google Chrome, same deal. Here, you just click it, and an optimized version for Ubuntu Mate installs. It adds the repository, it adds the PPA. So this is just absolutely awesome. These guys have done an incredible job. A lot of this software is not in the repositories. It's available through PPAs, but people want it, like Mumble. So this is great. And I could go on and on about that, but if you're going to get somebody started on Linux and you really can't hold their hand, this would be the most awesome option, I think, the Ubuntu Mate desktop at this point. So a couple of other things I want to show you real quick. They started this a couple of versions back. The Ubuntu Mate desktop has installed by default. You don't have to configure it. You don't have to worry about it. It's part of the system, the tilde terminal. So I hit F12 and I get the tilde terminal. And that is really nice to have around. Of course, if I want a regular terminal, I can just do alternate control and T and I get a terminal. But look at this. I can get my tilde terminal and I can have it running and have both of these terminals open at the same time. And then I can hide that while the process is running. I did a whole video on installing tilde, and I actually don't use it because I kept forgetting it was there, but now this is just part of the system. I think I could get used to it. So we can go ahead and quit HTOP. And we're done. Next thing I want to show you is this feature, just because it is so awesome. All right, when you first load this up, this is what the desktop looks like. I've changed nothing with the theme. Nothing. This is the original theme. And this is the old GNOME 2 layout. It looks like what GNOME 2 looked like before GNOME 3 came along. When GNOME 2 was when GNOME 3 came out, GNOME 2 was forked into Mate, which is the desktop that we have today. And so you can have it look just like Ubuntu 10.10, which those of us who have been around Linux for a long time will appreciate. But if this isn't your cup of tea, you don't have to stay with it. You can do a lot here. So I'm going to come down here to Preferences, and we're going to go to Look and Feel, and we're going to open Mate Tweak. Okay? Now the first thing you're presented with is just the icons you can put on the desktop. You know, you want a trash can. There's your trash can. You don't want a trash can? Make it go away. And then here is where we can adjust things that have to do with the window manager. We can choose what compositor we want. There's Marco, which is rather simple. There's Compiz, which is way more complex, or you can have none at all, depending on your hardware and what works best for your needs. The window manager and compositor, basically they control all of the special effects. So with Compiz, you can really go crazy. You can have all kinds of crazy special effects if you want them. But here's the star of the show here. And that is that you can change this desktop to do whatever you want it to do. So right now it's on Ubuntu Mate. Okay? But maybe you are more familiar with a desktop that sort of kind of feels like the Macintosh OS X experience. There you go. You got a dock down there. Looks a lot like it, doesn't it? And the menu up here is pretty much the same one that we had in the other layout. Maybe what you want is more of a traditional sort of like a Microsoft Windows type laid out desktop. Well, here you can get that as well. And we get a pretty simple menu here. Kind of reminds me of like Windows 95. Very cool. But, okay, so if you don't like the hover over it to make it appear menu like that, you have another option. So we're going to enable the advanced menu. With the advanced menu enabled, this is what we get. So we have favorites, and then we have a list of all of our programs, categories over here, a place where you can search. And this will not only search for files and folders and programs on the system, but it'll search the internet as well. That's the advanced Mate menu. I'm going to turn this off because I want to show you another layout that they came up with. And this is for anybody who's, I guess, sort of missing the Unity desktop experience. They call this Mutiny, and it looks and feels a lot like the Unity desktop. But so there's our menu. You can put the advanced menu here too as well. I just switched it back. And so you can pretty much make this do whatever you want it to do and make it look and feel the way you want it to. And of course, the Mate desktop is very flexible. You could do all this yourself. But why would you go through all that if you could start out with a template like this that works great? This is an awesome feature. And we're just scratching the surface here with Ubuntu Mate. It is a truly awesome distribution of Linux, and it just gets better and better and better. And like I said, for a while I did run this for my daily driver, but it's been a while back. There was some flakiness there, some issues. May have to give that a try again. I just might have to. Alright, gang. So that is Ubuntu Mate. There's a lot more to talk about, but we're just hitting the high points here. This is just a little look around. Now, let us look at the Ubuntu GNOME experience. This is 16.04 Beta 1. I had exactly the same sort of ease of install that I had with Ubuntu Mate. It just went right in the system. There were no problems. Now, Ubuntu Mate is more for somebody who, the way they have that laid out, it's more for somebody who is a novice coming to Linux, or maybe you're just like me and you're lazy as hell. Because I want to tell you what, if I can install a machine and if I can go and use a tool like that welcome screen to get all the software or 90% of it that I need to install on it, I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to do the point and click. Yes, I can open a terminal. Yes, I can use Synaptic Package Manager. But it is so nice just to be able to follow that wizard, that bouncing ball, and get that done. Here with Ubuntu GNOME, it's a slightly different story. This is a more austere desktop, more advanced. I have done at least 2 videos on this. For a while, the GNOME desktop was my daily driver. And the last time that I did a video on it, we looked at Ubuntu GNOME 14.04, which had the GNOME 3.10 desktop. And when I was running it, that's what I was running. And there were some things in there that I found annoying. The GNOME developers have really done a lot to smooth out those rough edges from before. Like the down here at the bottom of the screen was where your notifications would show up. And then if you pulled your mouse down here like this, what would happen is that the whole screen would compress and it would open up the notification area, and I found that to be very, very annoying. So here are the applications that come by default in Ubuntu GNOME. You get pretty much all the basics. They're here. But not too much. And then over here is where you can select more desktops. So we'll have to open something to get that to do that. Let me go ahead and close that. So let's just open a terminal and we'll fire off HTOP. I did install that here. And so if we were going to open up a new desktop, just go to the activities menu or press the super key and that will open that up for us. And then we can go over here and we have our desktop selector. So we're on desktop 2 and there's desktop 1 and there we are. And just click here to get back. And this is your notification area and your calendar. So your notifications pop up here, and then you have your calendar over here. And this calendar is connected to Evolution, which is the default email client that comes with the GNOME desktop. And I haven't played with Evolution in a long time. I know I posted the video about Geary being dead. I went back to Thunderbird. Thunderbird, by the way, is not dead. Somebody had posted, they said, well, Thunderbird's dead too. Why did you switch to that? Thunderbird is just kind of sort of on the back burner. The Mozilla people have not let it go yet. They would like to maybe find another project to take it over, but they haven't killed it. It's still perfectly viable, and you're going to get security updates. They're just not developing it right now because they're concentrating on the browser. So Thunderbird is going to be as a fine choice for email, and I'm pretty confident that it's not really ever going to go anywhere because Thunderbird is huge and it's used a lot of places. A lot of people have asked me about N1, which is a new mail client that's out, and that is in beta. And when you install that, it actually brings in the entire Chromium browser. And there's some other things about that I'm kind of shaky on too, so I'd rather stick with Thunderbird. But anyway, back to the GNOME desktop. So you can take this calendar and you can use the Evolution calendar, which is perfectly fine. Or you can also get an extension here that will hook this up to, let's say that if you use the Google Calendar, it will appear here. That's pretty cool, ain't it? This desktop is, by design, inactive. So you can't put icons on your desktop, and you can right-click to get some functionality, which I found kind of interesting. I can change the background or display settings or whatever. But if you want to make this an active desktop, you have to use the GNOME tweak tool and activate that and turn that on. And that's where you can change a lot of things and add themes. There's a lot of extensions available for the GNOME desktop. The upside of having all those extensions is the fact that you can actually, make the desktop do what you want it to do. The downside is that a lot of times when they have an update to the desktop, the extensions don't get updated, and sometimes they break. So, if I do use the GNOME desktop, I keep it as simple as possible. I don't really install a bunch of extensions or anything like that. And one thing that I did want to point out while I was doing this video was that when I did the 1604, the look at 1604, the software application was not working. Ubuntu is switching to this application for software in the 1604 LTS release, and we can wave the Software Center bye-bye. I hated that thing, and I'm glad it's gone. And when I first looked at this, it wasn't working yet. Well, they have since sent down an update, and now it's working. So we can look around here. So if we look under audio, look at all this. They'll make a liar out of me. Nothing. There it is. Okay. It just took a minute to show up. Had to go out and get the list, I suppose. So we have a bunch of lovely things that show up here. But we don't seem to have anything under disk burning. Maybe they're still working on it. Well, let's see. That makes me curious whether the Ubuntu GNOME folks have included Bracero. So let's look and see. Yeah, it's installed. Okay. That's the disk burning software that I like to use. And so it's here. It usually comes standard. I'm a big fan of GNOME applications. I like the GNOME suite of applications that go along with the GNOME desktop. And of course, if you use Linux Mint, let's say, with the Cinnamon desktop, that has a lot of the GNOME tools in it. And if you use Ubuntu's Unity desktop, there's a lot of other projects out there that rely on GNOME's tools, and I like their tools. So anyway, you get the idea here. You're going to be able to come in here and peruse and install software. This application will also handle updates. It's telling me the system is up to date. Tells me when it was last updated. And I updated it this morning right after I installed it. And then, of course, we can get a list of the installed software. And this is what's going to replace the Software Center. And they'll probably spiff it up a little bit more before the official release comes along. I think it's late April, they're talking about doing this. So we've still got, at this point, today is March the 1st. So 6 weeks until this comes out, pretty much. So there's probably a lot more to come here, but I did want to show that to you. It wasn't working before. So there you go, gang. It is a look at Ubuntu Mate and a look at Ubuntu GNOME. These were the two spins of Ubuntu that I was really, really anxious to see how this was going to work out. And, what this was going to look like, pretty much. This is how you get to your account. This is where you log out, your account settings. And let's look at the settings for GNOME. It doesn't look that much different than the last video I posted. So if you've seen it, it's like... But I am curious. I haven't really poked around with Ubuntu GNOME as much as I have Ubuntu Mate today. One of the things they did here, which I'm not really sure whether I like or not, is that in the standard GNOME desktop that you get with, let's say, Arch or Fedora, they have those lovely, huge GNOME icons. They seem to have scaled that back a little bit for here. And that's why the settings menu is over here. Let's see if there's anything massively different here. No. Look at the details. Here's where you can set your default applications. Like I said, pretty much the same as the standard Unity version of Ubuntu, except for a couple of minor things like Evolution is the mail client. And you can have them both installed. You could use Evolution for the calendar and then use whatever mail client you wanted to. So if I was going to use this for my daily driver, I would just put Thunderbird in there and set that as default. So this is exciting to me. Very cool indeed. It just keeps getting better and better, and I really am honestly getting to a point where I believe that we are just about ready to get into the year of the Linux desktop. There's so much exciting going on, especially in the Ubuntu world right now. Alright, gang, that's about it. Just hitting the high points there. Talk more about it as we roll along, I suppose. And do be sure and check out freedompenguin.com. The link is in the description below. Check out Easy Linux online. Check out Easy Linux on Facebook. And if you would, give it a like, please. And also, stick around here on the YouTube channel for more videos to come. I'm really excited about what's going on here. We're going to have a lot to talk about. So thank you for watching. Talk to you again soon.